so we can, those of us who aren't here can refer to it, and those of us who are can refer back if ever we need to. Let me see here, share screen.
What is that feedback or something?
I don't know. There, how's that?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I want to try to wind this up in an hour or so if we could. So I just wanted to let you all know just a little bit more of what I told you on the last email I sent you, that the ATS visit, that's the American Theological Schools visit, went very well. And so we all sort of pulled together a bunch of faculty who were here in the DC area locally, came out and did an excellent interview, and Marcellino Skyped in, and overall it went very well. There were other aspects of the meeting too, involving the board, involving the administration, and so they were very impressed with CDU and how well we are doing, and just all the different aspects of our school. And just so you know, the ATS accreditation is very important, especially for the graduate program. You're really sort of in the big leagues of graduate education in the United States, in theology, if you have ATS accreditation. And so having this really should open new doors for us. And the good news is that the person visiting, Tom Tanner, was impressed enough that he's going to recommend CDU for associate membership when the ATS Executive Committee convenes again in the spring of 2018. So this is all very good news. This won't be full accreditation yet, but associate is kind of the first step in the door, and that's a very, very big step for us. So Sister Mary Margaret was very involved in the planning. Sister, would you like to say anything else that I haven't said already?
I think the first thing I wanted to say was thank you to all the faculty who did participate. Certainly, I think we, as Pete said, I think we definitely, in some ways, overwhelmed him with the amount of information we were able to share and the processes we already have in place. They're very interested in assessment. And unfortunately, we always are asking you, for different ways of assessing. So the Faculty Governance Council Assessment Committee is going to be extremely important as we move through any type of accreditation. But I think the most important thing in terms of faculty is thank you for your quality teaching, for your interaction with the students, because that's very, very important to them. Library resources are very important to them. And so therefore using the library, encouraging your students to use it. You yourselves working with the librarian can be another way of enhancing your courses. All of those, the handbooks, if they need to have updates, let us know. Little things like that are very important because they give us a comprehensive review. And even though that was ATS and that was only graduate level, we are now working hard at the HLC, which is the undergraduate level as well. And we too have to cross all T's for that and make sure that everything is in place. So we'll be asking you probably for some input in various ways, and I want to thank you ahead of time for being prompt and responding so generously. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister. So, and thank you all for your hard work in this area, especially those who were able to come out to CDU. I should point out we also shot some raw footage, which will become a nice little faculty video as well for those who are out, and maybe some of you who are not out can participate in it also. So I'll let you know about that as time goes forward. It's going to take a little bit of time to produce, but thank you all very much. Does anyone want to ask anything about ATS or anything else before we go on?
Pete?
Yes.
Did you give him the CVs that he was
Yes, I did, Father. I sent them the same afternoon. So yeah, he has. You know what? I do need. Thanks for reminding me, though. I do need to send. Several of them were kind of out of date. I think there's several years out of date. So if you want to send an updated one, if you could, I think, is Judy here with us?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. So if you would send it to either me or to Judy, even better still, if you have an updated one, because typically, you're not going to necessarily give us an updated one every single year unless we ask you for one. So if you were especially on the visit committee and you have an updated one, I know Elizabeth already sent hers, but if any others, I mean, Father, yours is probably several years old. So if you've done some things since then, I think you might want to send a new one if you could.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Anything else about the ATS? As I say, this is not the only accreditation project we're working on. CDU is currently a nationally accredited school, but we also want to be a regionally accredited school. So the regional accreditation through the HLC or Higher Learning Commission is another, sort of two-pronged strategy that we have, and it kind of goes hand in hand with getting the ATS accreditation as well. So both of them are very important, and indeed HLC, the Higher Learning Commission, wants us to have programmatic accreditation as well. So once again, this is very good news, and we definitely are moving in the right direction. So thank you all for your continued hard work. And I'm going to just say a little bit about the webinars we've been doing. A number of you know about them because you've been participants in them. Christine Wood has been on several of them. I've been on a few of them. Matthew's been on a few of them. Marcelina's been on a few. Alyssa Thorell's been on one or two, I think. Elizabeth Shaw's been on one. But those of you who haven't been on one, you will probably get asked before too long. Basically, what the webinars are designed to do is just to sort of give you a forum to raise your profile a little bit, to talk about the stuff that you're doing professionally, various topics that are kind of interest to the community, and hopefully, something that kind of flows outward to the broader internet audience to kind of learn more about theology and philosophy and various things like that. So if you'd like to be on a webinar and you've not been on one yet, please let me or Matthew know. Matthew especially is sort of taking charge of the webinars. But and also if you have ideas for topics of things to talk about, we're always looking for new good ideas for topics. If you have a new book you want to promote, if you have a particular idea you want to talk about, that's especially if it's timely, anything that you think might be interesting for a broader audience to listen in on, let us know. And
the other thing too, real quick,
Matthew?
Yeah, we're very interested in topics that are timely, but that we can also sort of plan out sort of quarterly. So we'd like to try to plot these out for, say, 4 months in advance, so that Fuzati and other CDU can help promote them. So we can build up the audience and also generate much more interest. So we're looking at seasonal ones. If you have ideas, for example, for next Lent, specific topics that we can address, that would be great.
Matt, what are some of the ones that are upcoming in the next several months?
In the next couple months, we're looking at, this will be possible of interest to all of you because we'd like to do something similar with you, a webinar with Holly Ordway, who's developing a new course for us on literary apologetics. That'll be in September. Then in October and November, we'll be dealing with the Protestant and then Protestant Reformation on the 500th anniversary. And then in November, the Catholic Reform. And then in December, we're developing an Advent theme, Advent Christmas theme. Last year, the one we did was on the Magi and other themes like that. So ideas you have for that would be helpful as well.
Excellent. So anything else on the webinars? This is a great thing, and I'm very happy that CDU is now doing this. I think they're a lot of fun.
I have a question, Peter.
Yeah.
This is Charles Reaper.
Hi, Charles.
Hi. I'm sorry I can't be seen by the whole group or whatever. I'm telephoning in, but question about topics for webinars. They can also be related to course material that you present as well, correct? I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so it's tied into to CDU and our academic offerings, but that tie-in can be, very creative. So if you've got something like civilizational you want to talk about, or historical, Charles is a historian specializing in American history. I'm sure we could definitely get a webinar together on that, especially if it pertained to like general, Catholic inflected topics. I think that would be a great possibility.
Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. Anything else on webinars? Excellent. Did I see Marcelino here? Marcelino's been in a few of these as well.
I am here. Yes.
Excellent. Good. Do you have any ideas for future webinars?
Well, just one thing about Advent. The second coming and hope and heaven are usually left out. Everyone just kind of jumps to the Christmas dimension of Advent. So, something on the theological virtue of hope and how Advent's a season of hope, building hope, would probably be cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's an excellent idea, Matt. How about that? We could we could do an Advent theme that's tied to eschatology and the second coming, in connection to the two comings.
Sure. Yeah, could you put that together in just a couple of lines in an email, Marcelino?
Sure.
Perfect. Sounds like we have our Advent theme.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. The next things, items 3 and 4, are basically kind of actually 3, 4, and 5 kind of go together. So several things. Those of you who've been with us a while know that the way we used to do things is there was one guy who kind of did all the nuts and bolts of uploading the courses, putting them together, designing them, and there wasn't a lot for faculty to do vis-a-vis that unless you really took a lot of initiative. Canvas is totally different, though. Canvas is really designed to put the faculty member in the driver's seat where the course is concerned. That's in terms of course content and also just overall, course design, course management, all of these things. So by and large, we've sort of have turned these over to you, and mostly it's been successful, but there's been a few glitches along the way. So just to let you know, so Canvas now has, when you're going into a course the first time, and let me see if I can log into this. Canvas now has a new feature called a link validator. Those of you people may not know this. Can everyone see me navigating in Canvas now? Do you see where I am?
Yes.
Okay, so basically here I'm in Canvas. This is one of the things we want you to do when you first start out your course. Okay, so first of all, two things. Okay, so I'll start at home here with the home page so you know it's all familiar here. Okay, here's Chris Padgett. This is his course on God, Man, and the Universe. But what you will do is take the home page here and then go to Settings. Okay, and there's basically two things. First of all, put an image here for your course. This is the image that will be the card image that goes with your course and will show up on mobile devices and on students' dashboards and your dashboard. Add an image to your courses if you haven't already. There's still some of you who haven't. And if you please do that, that would be good. But the main thing I wanted to talk about here, and let me see if I can get this. Yeah, here we go. This down out of the way.
just a problem with the card image. It comes up with the color of the course.
That's right.
So if I put a picture in and the color is orange, the picture comes up orange.
That's right. The picture is designed to kind of overlay the color. So the courses will be colored according to what the student wants. So, but nevertheless, it's still an image, and the image goes with your course, and it's still nicer than looking at it just a solid surface. Yeah, that's not a feature or a bug filer. That's a feature. That's what the way they designed it.
Okay.
Yeah, you do need a horizontal image though to fit in this screen though. You see this is horizontal. A vertical one wouldn't work real well. Okay, but what we want you to do is a couple things to getting your course ready. The first thing is run the validate links. Okay, so you just click on this button here, and you restart the link validation. I've already run this one, and we can see here that there's several unresponsive links that come up. Okay, now some of these are actually do work, but Canvas can't validate them. But some of them are just garbage links that have either been taken down or were links that were put up years ago and no longer work. All of these things make the course look kind of crummy when students get in there and they find a bunch of broken links. So if you would run the link validation and investigate the broken links, that would be fantastic. It won't take you very long to do. There's usually no more than 1 or 2 of them per course, but they do begin to add up if it's not done in a while. So this is just a basic tool that Canvas gives you to sort of maintain your course in tip-top form, and that would be fixing broken links. Okay.
And that is in settings?
Yes, it's in settings. Okay, let me navigate back here again. So you notice here at the beginning, over on the side here, if you want to see, there's a number of things faculty ask me about sometimes that they don't know exist. So Student View here allows you to see exactly what the students do. So if students complain about something, you can go in and click on Student View and see exactly what they're seeing, so you can understand the problem at least. The analytics you probably know about. Never delete a course. Please never push that button. But if you see at the very bottom here, validate links in content, if you just press that button, it usually takes them a couple minutes to run a check of the whole course. And you'll find some really interesting things here that you didn't know about your own courses in terms of what's there. Occasionally what you'll find is, for some of the older courses, is residue from the course way back when it was on Caucus, which was our earlier learning management system. That's all stuff that you want to clean out. The course designer, when it was originally imported, tried to do the best they could, but they probably missed some of them. So if you would go in and try to fix this, this would be fantastic. So this is one thing, okay? The other thing we like you to do, and those of you know this, but some of you still forget, and I've forgotten to sometimes, is when you start a new course, you need to reset the due dates for the assignments. So since discussions are graded, each of the discussions needs to have a due date. Each of the assignments needs to have a due date. This way, everything will show up on the student's dashboard and there'll be no confusion about what's going on and when things are due. Now, granted, the students should still know about this anyway if they've been following the course, but many of them kind of come over time to depend on their dashboard to show them what's due. And so this is something you need to be aware of in terms of just overall student outcomes. Okay, so the way to set the due dates is straightforward. You know, probably the easiest way is to go into assignments, and you can see relatively quickly if things have not been set up or what the due dates that have been set up according to the course are. And if they're due dates from 6 months ago, you know it's time to reset them. Okay, so that's the second thing. Now the third thing that kind of goes with this is because.
Wait, hey, Pete?
Yes.
Suzanne, hi, everyone. Hey. If you click on syllabus, the dates become very evident there to a student. So right. And then I think if you go.
The dates are at the bottom here, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
They should show up at the bottom.
If anyone has not updated there
won't be a summary at the bottom.
Right away to a student.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me scroll down here. At the bottom of the syllabus, you'll see the dates here of all the things due in the course. If you don't see that, that's another telltale sign that the dates of the new course need to be updated. It only takes, you know, about 5 or 10 minutes to do it. It's not a big deal. But if you don't do it, it will screw up the course, at least in terms of a couple of students who don't catch on, especially if they're new students. Okay, so please take care of that, okay, at the beginning. Most of you do already, but occasionally people forget to do this. And when you do, we usually find out about it. Okay, the third thing is, and this is sort of tied into the first two things, just in terms of getting the course ready, because it's up to you to kind of get the course ready to go again. Judy will import the course. Judy will notice if links are bad and will probably make you aware of them, but you should know how to run the link check as well. But it's also up to you to publish the course when it's ready to go. Okay, that's a very easy thing to do. All you do is click publish here at the top right. Now, it's very easy to miss whether the course is published or not. Okay, now this time, a bunch of people dropped the ball on publishing it. In fact, maybe we didn't make it clear enough that we want you to publish it. So just so you understand, publish the course and publish it by Friday. You know, we like it to be published by Friday, 5 p.m., the weekend before the course. That way students have a chance to preview everything. Okay, if you don't publish it, students won't be able to get into it. They'll start emailing me, they'll start emailing Kathy on Saturday, on Sunday. Why can't I get into my course? Well, it's because it hasn't been published yet. And so there were 7 courses this time that I had to publish on Saturday night. I'm not blaming anybody, because it's easy to not notice that a course hasn't been published yet. It's an easy thing not to notice. You can see really easily. It's just one click of a button here. You see the green sign, now it's published, now it's unpublished, okay? If you don't see the green sign there, it's not published. So just make sure that your course is published, and I will, and other people will try to go around and prod you to make sure that it is published in time. If there's a powerful reason that the course really isn't ready to be published 5 p.m. and you need a little bit more time, say another few hours or something to get it ready, you know, that's not the end of the world. Just let me or Judy know. That happens occasionally, but in general, that's not usually an issue unless the course is a brand new course or else a course that's gone through major renovations. So, so if you could, just remember to publish your course, and that will go much, much better.
Pete, can I say something real quick? This is Judy.
Yeah.
Down in the settings also, I also set the dates for the course. And I usually, if you click on that.
Yeah, let's go down and look at that.
And it says, you know, term starts October 20th at 5 p.m. And then I usually end that course. Typically, the students and the instructors get about 6 months to, you know, go through the course. I set this date at 2 places. I set it for the sub-account for the whole university, depending upon the term, but I also set it per course. I've started to do that. So if you could just not touch those dates, particularly in settings, that would be great. And the only other place that I would really appreciate no one touching is the final exam area. With the exception of, if you have to update your final exam, that's great. You can go on in there and do that. As for all the settings, it's all set. But please do not change any of those settings, because that information is sent to Examity. But if you do change even one question on your final exam, you must send me and Megan a Word document of that exam. Thank you.
Got it.
Okay, good. Any questions about getting the course ready at the beginning of the term? Okay, this is again, this is a little bit different than what some of you used to, but I don't think it's too much of a change from before. So hopefully we can get this working even better than it has. So if there's no other questions here, item 6 is the academic deficiency report. Okay, so you'll find in your contracts there's a line there, and I don't think it's really clear what we had written, and maybe we need to shift this a little bit. It'll say something like midterm report, I think is what it says. And some of you were wondering, what is this midterm report? I never was given a midterm report to fill out. Here's what it is, okay? Basically, if students are doing well in the course and do not appear by the middle of the course to be in danger of failing or failing, you don't need to do anything, okay? There's nothing that needs to be done. If, however, there are students who are either failing the course or are in danger of failing the course, okay, and by in danger of failing the course, you know, an average, say, less than a 70 by the time midterm rolls around, then we want you to tell the students this, and we want you to let Megan know as well. So basically, there's no form to fill out or anything like that. Just an email to the students, CCing Megan is all you need to do, okay? So basically, you're in touch with the students anyway. You're keeping track of, you know, who's doing well, who isn't. This is just another sort of a step that we have, not only to help students to succeed, but also to document students that are failing or are in danger of failing because they might have to be dropped. And if they're financial aid students, there are sort of administrative ramifications on our end in terms of, you know, what the academic record of them was up to the point in which they either dropped out or had to be dropped administratively. So this is not a big deal. It's just something that would happen every midterm. And I believe, Judy, Megan, do you send an email reminding faculty to do this, or I don't remember?
No.
No?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully we won't need one. I don't know that this is that this happens too often. It's probably a small percentage of students that are in danger of failing in a given course anyway. So
I think it's noted on the contract that the midterm obviously is around week 4 of an 8-week course and around week 6 of a 12-week course. So that we probably could figure out. So
right.
I think because I contact the faculty too for any students that seem to be not participating, that they'll probably have a good idea whose grades they need to look at and whose participation is going to be in.
Yes, and I believe that the policy about this is also, it was reviewed at another faculty meeting, and the sample letter and whatnot is in the faculty room.
Mm-hmm.
The course that's called faculty.
Yeah.
Pete, can you just mention again to whom are we copying or notifying? Just you or Judy, or how many people are getting notified when we reach out to a student?
I would say I don't need to know. I would say the student himself and the registrar.
That's right.
Okay, just the registrar and who else, Pete?
And the student. Yeah,
just the registrar and the student, obviously. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead. You can CC me if you like, but there's no real added from that. So
it's just so I can print it off and put it in the file.
What about Kathy Vestermark? Should she be notified?
I think it's on the contract that it's supposed to go to me and to Megan.
Okay, well, and Kathy as well then.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. That's good. Okay, so anything else on that?
Just one curious thing. One of my students failed.
John?
Yeah, right. I'm sorry.
Hi, John.
Hi. She was having some, legitimate problems, and she was kind of hopeful throughout the semester, and it really didn't become really clear until the last week or so. She got an F. Okay. Yeah. And what happens when a student gets an F? She said she wanted to retake the course. If she retakes the course, and she passes, that this covers the failing, right?
Yeah, I believe we let them retake the course once. And I believe we even expunge the old grade, don't we, Suzanne, or no?
Yes.
Is that right, Megan? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So if a student fails a course, is it only if they fail if they got a D or something and they want a better grade? I'm not sure, but they can take the course once again. They do have to pay for it again, but they can take it once again. And if they do better in the course, they can have the new grade replace the old grade.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah. So if they do badly, you can tell them about that. That is a student handbook, but doesn't mean students necessarily will know it. So,
Hey, can I ask you too, if in terms of counseling students who are having trouble, I've had a few in the past who have, you know, for whatever reason needed to drop out. And it's usually personal reasons, you know, someone's sick or something, but
right.
Is it better to recommend to them that they withdraw up to a certain point, or are they better off taking that F or whatever they would get and then trying to retake it at a later time? I guess I just don't know what's, you know, something to recommend to them if they ask us.
Yeah.
You know, we're in this tight situation right now.
You know what? I guess I would present the options, and given the unique case of the student, and let them decide. If they know that they can retake the whole course, and you know, paying for the course again may not be that big an issue for them. You know, maybe trying to do the best they can would the first time would make the most sense. It's kind of hard to say, right? I mean, if they just had like a, you know, a major automobile accident and they can't, you know, they can't function anymore, then, you know, maybe dropping is the best option. Or they had a major illness in the family or something like that. I mean, then maybe dropping would be the best option. I think it really depends a lot on the student, to be honest.
So if they drop, though, are they able to retake the course?
Well, if they drop, okay, so I think that there's a time that they can drop the course and it doesn't show up on their transcript.
Yeah, there is.
Right.
Yeah, I think that there's a period of time that they can drop the course and get a W. Am I right about this?
Yes.
Yes. And then after that, they can't drop the course at all, or if they do, they get an F.
Right.
Okay, so it just automatically becomes that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why the midterm report is so important. If something, it depends on where the incident happens in the term for the student. If it happens at the very beginning, we can say to them, you can withdraw and get a partial refund, and that limits the amount of expense it's going to cost them to retake the class, and whether there'll be a W or not on their transcript. The later we go into the term, the more difficult it becomes to help them, and then we have to look at extensions or, you know, failing the course, and then that's going to depend on what you think as the professor is the best option for the student. If they've put forth effort and you believe that they are legitimate in, you know, what they're telling you, then you can offer an extension. We don't like to do too many of them, do we, Megan?
No.
Yeah, it makes it difficult on her end. But I mean, if you have a legitimate circumstance at the very end of the course, you know, you get to decide what the best option is for the student.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy, this is Stephen. Really quick question. This happens a lot at the undergrad level. What happens when we get, like, when we as, you know, instructors get requests for extensions? Is there any way, maybe in communicating with you, because we do have repeat offenders. We do have people that request extensions, it seems like every time that they take a course. And sometimes I find out kind of after the fact, well, I've granted an extension, and then I come to find out that this student has gotten already 3 extensions in previous courses. Is there any way that, you know, is there like red flags that can come out or something where we can just have a communication set up where we can say, you know what, this student is going to be in your course, just be aware that this student has a propensity to fall behind and things like that?
I try to be very clever in the way I communicate with some of the professors. I'm not sure I've had to do it with you before, Stephen, but there is I just wrote an email to a professor where I said, you may want to watch this one carefully. He has a tendency to show up every other week, and so you can't say he's a repeat offender, but I will try and put clues in my email to let you know there should be a red flag here. I'm probably going to talk to you often about this student. I might say something like that,
And so, Kathy, I, as an instructor, do you want me to let you know, after I wrap up a course, do you want me to shoot you an email just so that you can have it on file saying, you know what, maybe in the future you want to let other professors know that this student, may request an extension, has...
that might be a good idea because I don't get the extension information. That mostly goes to Megan, and Megan's plate is so full. If you could include me in an email like that way I'll know if we have repeat offenders in that area.
Well, right, and the fact is we did formalize the extension process. I mean, I've discussed this before, but it maybe bears repeating. There is a form now that's available in the faculty course room called the course extension form, and students are supposed to fill that out if they need a course extension, stating the reasons with a formal due date and a signature at the end of it, and then that goes on file. So this is sort of an obvious way of us flagging so-called repeat offenders.
But that's specifically for the course itself,
that's for the course itself, not for assignment extensions. That's really handled on your end. That's right.
Okay, so exams essentially would be this form.
Well, or if they can't do a term paper because something happened but they can't turn it in like a week and a half late.
Sure.
They need a course extension for that.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's
Great.
right.
But if I can say, it's just really important to communicate with the communicate with the registrar as well. And I know that some instructors are really good at doing that with, so you're really good at doing that. And some others aren't until at the very last minute when it comes up to the time of taking the exam. And then all of a sudden it's this big rush, and so we need an extension, and then it's just turns out to be a nightmare. So I think that's where we need to get better at communicating.
One thing, I'm just listening to the conversation. We can't really share information about students' record unless there is a need to know. So, I mean, the thing about it is Kathy is on top of it. If you don't, I guess for those who are new, she does an internal report that talks about the activity level of each student, or they actually highlight students that are not active. And she will send you an email that says, hey, this student is not active. And that's what she was alluding to before. If a person continually does this, it's not something that necessarily is shared between faculty, but it is important that when you do get that message from Kathy, that you also take action and then go ahead and do this midterm thing as well. That way, if we cannot give an extension for whatever reasons. If we do becomes chronic, we can't do it, and Pete decides, no, we can't do this for a student, we actually have documentation that goes with it. It says you've done it for, the last 6 courses. So it's a technicality, but we can't share information about students like that.
And that's why I said, I'll try and find a way to put a red flag up for you, but FERPA ties my hands. I can't tell you this student, is going to do this to you. But if you ask me the question, I can answer it. If you say, is this person a chronic offender because I'm starting to see a behavioral pattern, I can say, you will want to watch this behavior. I can answer that.
I have a question, and I would just like to get this clarified in my mind, because I had a student whom I thought that I had to remind more than necessary to turn in assignments on time and things of that nature. And I think at one point I even sent an email to Kathy into, I think I copied Judy and Megan on it, saying that so-and-so has been repeatedly late with assignments and whatnot, and et cetera, et cetera. I would assume that that's appropriate to do, correct?
Yes. You can tell us all you want to tell us about your student, because we're supposed to help that student be successful. This is Charles, right?
Yes, this is Charles.
Okay. Because I remember our interaction back and forth, and that same student happened to be in my course. So I knew what was going on from an instructor's perspective, from student life, and you were validating it for me too, because it was happening in your course. You and I can communicate that way. If you're seeing a problem with a student in your class, you can tell me about it.
Okay. It's just that I could not go to another faculty member and say, watch out for John, watch out for Mary. They pull this, they do this, this, and this. In my course, they exhibited these behaviors or whatnot, correct?
I mean, I'm not. Yeah,
we're going to have to check the nuances of FERPA, because I don't know that, that conversation about students' records is forbidden between faculty members.
Yeah, right. There might be a difference between you two talking about it. Well, but Kathy will see she has two hats here. Right. She's kind of administrative too. And somebody from administrative, or Megan, or somebody from records talking about that. I think Pete's right. I think we should research that, but I don't know that we have to. It's you sign a, you also have this FERPA responsibility, so we should look into this.
Yeah, to be honest with you, this is something we haven't really talked too much about. What those of you who don't know, FERPA is the Federal Educational Records and Privacy Act. It goes back to the 70s. Those of you who've been in higher ed for a while probably have heard about it. CDU has not really. Obviously we're bound by FERPA, and all the staff know about it. It's you have to sign off on it every time you go into CAMS to enter final grades. You'll get a thing that pops up, and you have to sign off saying I understand FERPA. So you're not allowed to disclose students' grades to third parties without having some kind of valid educational interest. That's the basic idea behind it. But frankly, I think we probably should have, at some point, maybe a little bit of a mini training on FERPA for the faculty and the students. It wouldn't be any big deal. Maybe, a 15, 20-minute video would, I think, answer a lot of questions in terms of what's allowed and what isn't allowed. I don't know that it's disallowed for faculty to talk to each other about students, or for that matter, for administrators to talk to faculty about students. I just don't know that. You do have to have a valid educational interest. That's the key point. And there's usually not a lot of third-party disclosure. I know that.
Yep. Excuse me. Go ahead.
There's no third-party disclosure without certification signed by the student.
Right.
But that doesn't preempt faculty talking about students for their educational good.
Right. Right. And that's key. So having a student that's really good, having a student that has difficulties and stuff, that's in general is not forbidden. So I think we probably need to clarify exactly what FERPA is aimed at. It's primarily about disclosing grades and other private information to third parties, where the student hasn't approved such a disclosure. But third parties don't include officials of the university or teachers. So I'm not really sure about this business of FERPA tying our hands and stuff like that. I think we really need to investigate that.
I think I was viewing it from the perspective of I'm an instructor, and I'm also on the staff. So I have to be more careful about what I say to who and how.
Right.
And I think it's just better to be cautious in general. Anybody I talk to, anybody who's had interaction with me about particular students knows that I'll give them the information they need to help get the student to a level of success, or I'll recommend that they watch them more carefully. So.
Right. Okay, but this actually brings up, I think, a task maybe for the future of reviewing FERPA, and also applying FERPA to sort of the unique circumstances of an online school. That's another thing too. A lot of what FERPA covers is not terribly relevant to CDU, but some of it is, and this is part of it. So, okay, great. Any questions about course extensions or academic deficiency midterm reports before we move on? Okay, I just wanted to mention as well, this is something that you all know if you've looked at your contract before. We're starting to issue annual contracts now for those of you who are teaching a fairly set course load and a fairly set schedule. You know, we kind of figured why not, because we know when the courses now are going to be offered, and we know in most cases who's going to be teaching them. So just keep your eyes open for annual contracts as opposed to course by course contracts. It cuts down on paperwork. It cuts down on a lot of things, and really sort of makes you feel much more like regular employees rather than sort of course by course contractors. So this is a change that we're introducing this fall. And those of you who haven't, you probably have already noticed it, but if you haven't, you will notice it probably on your next contract. So obviously there's flexibility there. So if you become unable to teach a course in a way you didn't anticipate, we can still work things out. It's just that there's not, the necessary paperwork, of a new contract for a new faculty member for a new course, which becomes just unwieldy after a while. So any questions about that? Excellent. You know what? We have a little bit of time left. We're making excellent time here. I wanted to ask if Suzanne and or sister wanted to talk a little bit about assessments and the assessment program that we're putting in place now, because this will involve faculty in various ways. Did you want to say anything on that, sister or Suzanne? We haven't really implemented a lot of it yet. It's still kind of in the planning stages, but do we want to?
Well, I mean, I think sister can chime in anytime here. We are going to begin to look at artifacts of certain courses and as they relate to the program.
What's an artifact, Suzanne? Can you explain that term?
Yeah, we have basically identified a number of courses another artifacts, which are some kind of assignments usually within your courses that support the program goals. And we're looking at those as we assess the program, and we're looking at the outcomes of those even now. We have been for a while. Sister can talk about all the efforts she's been doing for years along these lines. But also, we will be looking at objectively at, let's say, all of the artifacts in a certain course or a certain assignment, and just objectively looking at with an assessment team, sort of review them to kind of look and see if they've met the requirements, not only of that assessment, of that artifact, and of the course, and of the program. And that's just so there's continual improvement, and just kind of an oversight. We have some faculty members that are involved in that. It's not just administration. And so, I mean, it's something that's been mandated by our creditors, but it's also something that's good. I know when I worked in a public institution, we did this continuously too. So we're going to begin that actually by the end of this month. Sister, would you like to add something else? We're also going to be assessing the programs, and some of those are going to be looking at the culminating assignments within the program. So maybe looking at theses. We're looking at we're going to be looking at portfolios, and we're going to begin to institute a program at the undergraduate level where someone reviews a student's reflection upon the program goals, and someone being a faculty member, and they're going to review that culminating reflection paper. And there is a whole host of assessment activities. But I think the one Pete's talking about is this objective review of program artifacts. Sister, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I'd like to just add at the course level, it's very important that the objectives that we have for the course are the ones that we are really assessing with our assignments. And if there are assignments that are really important to you and you feel it's very important for the course and there's really no objective that addresses it, then we need to make sure that objective is added to that course so that we really do have a complete circle there where we are telling the students these are the objectives of the course. Then we are measuring them with our assignments that we give to them. And then we are able to see if in fact the students have attained, the objectives of the course. Your final exam should really include some type of reference to all the major objectives that you have had in that course. You should be able to track each of your questions or whatever, or most of them are questions, essays, to the objectives of the course. So I hope that helps because that's where it all starts.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Sister, that, one thing that the faculty can do, especially if you're teaching, as you're teaching, is to go ahead and refer back to that syllabus and see those course objectives. And we've been trying to kind of edit them as we go because they didn't always start out this way. But can you measure those objectives by by your assignments, and especially if you have a final exam or culminating activity? And you should be able to tie to cross over from one point to the other. So just cross the course together in terms of connect the dots is what I'm trying to say between especially the final exam and the outcomes of the course.
Right. Well,
and then we're going to be mapping the outcomes of a course to the outcomes of the program and the outcomes of the institutional outcomes. But that's not really what you need to be considered about right now. It's really just the course itself.
Is whether the course itself is meeting objectives, but there is going to be a faculty assessment team that's going to look at the whole program, across courses, and see just in aggregate whether the programs themselves are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We've got a couple members on that. It's possible we might be interested in opening a little bit more. So if anybody's interested in being part of that, let us know, and we could possibly make arrangements for that. But I wanted to mention also, just make sure that, for one thing, you actually have objectives in your course. For some of the courses, especially the older ones, some of the objectives are really descriptions, what the course is, what it's about. But objectives, keep in mind, are all based on student outcomes. So in other words, students will have to do this, okay? And typically, at the end of this course, students will be able to do X, okay? And X is some kind of a measurable activity. Understand, comprehend is not even really a measurable activity. Articulate, explain is, an activity that you can measure. So you understand it's sometimes we see descriptions, sometimes we see objectives, especially in some of the older courses that are not actually measurable. Growth in faith and love of Jesus is great, but that's not really a measurable objective for most of the courses. So they have to be things that are measurable.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. So most of them are, but occasionally you'll find ones that aren't. So it's always worth reviewing your objectives from time to time, and we will be asking you to do that as the months unfold as well.
I would just add there that you want to also make sure that you are moving from just basic low-level types of behavioral objectives to more complex ones.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you do have, especially as they're coming to their final assignments, in their essays, how are they bringing together the pieces of this course and drawing new conclusions? How are they applying these to maybe problem solving? How are they being able now to analyze using the terminology that you've developed and also the concepts? So it's important to be able to see a gradation even of your assignments, and that might be a good goal for each person to check on during the coming term. You know, do you really see a gradation in the complexity of the type of assignment, or are they all the same?
So one reason I put Bloom's taxonomy in the faculty course is so you could get ideas of how to structure your objectives for your course, and in turn how to renew the courses themselves. So you can kind of see the various areas that Bloom's looks at, and these definitely are higher level to lower level, Sister said. Knowledge is kind of lower level. Comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, those kind of get higher and higher as I go around the circle. So ideally, especially for the higher level courses, you want to have objectives that are keyed in terms of higher level tasks and not just lower level ones. Define, describe. There's a lot of tasks like this and that we have in existing courses, but a lot of times there's not things that involve report or categorize, compare, design, appraise, assess, conclude, things like that that really call upon the students to make critical judgments. Obviously, critical thinking is a bit of a buzzword in academia these days, but it doesn't mean that the basic concept is flawed. It does, mean that we sort of need to apply it carefully, but the basic idea is sound. You do want students to be able to make intelligent judgments about things as a result of the information they're gaining in the courses, and there are ways to evaluate that.
Pete, what is this diagram under?
This is Bloom's taxonomy, and this is found in the faculty course room.
Okay.
Yeah. So not all these are going to work for us, but some of them will. And in fact, a lot of them will, or could work for us if we got a little more creative in terms of what we're asking students to do. So, excellent. Anything else about assessments? Any questions about that before we turn it open to you all for the last few minutes? Anyone have any questions, concerns, comments? How are things going in the new English course, Aaron? Are you doing well with that many students? Is Aaron there?
Yes. Sorry, I was struggling with the unmute button on my new phone here. It's going well. There are a number of them I need to rattle their chains a little bit because there are some non-responsive folks there. But working through their narrative essays, and it's going well. They're a fun bunch. There's a lot to be done in this class, so I'm excited about it.
Excellent. Good. So, Alyssa, how's moral theology going?
I was muted too. So far, so good. Yeah, it's been a good response. It's not too full, but they're definitely getting into the dialogue, which is great.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm just pulling people at random here. Anyone else have any comments or questions or anything or concerns or experiences they want to share?
I have one logistic question, Pete.
Yes.
Are most of the graduate seminars for the foreseeable future going to stay on the 12-week rotation, or is there a plan to compress those as well?
Oh, you mean the courses? Yeah.
Yeah, the courses.
That's an excellent question. I would have to tell you we're not totally decided on what we're going to do yet. A couple years ago, we were sort of gung-ho and making everything 8-week. And I think mostly the project's been a success, but I don't know that we can, there might be a point of diminishing returns with some of the courses, especially the ones that were really designed as 12-week courses. We haven't had as much success as we thought we would in making 12-week courses 8-week courses. We tended to have, it's a little awkward to compress a course that way because really, it just is. I mean, in theory, there's the same amount of work, but nevertheless, it's hard to redistribute work evenly, in a 12-week format to an 8-week format. And so really it would sort of amount to do it well would amount to redoing a lot of the 12-week courses, and then we would have to judge whether it would really be worth it in terms of the product. The purpose of the 8-week courses is really twofold. One is there's better outcomes, for the students, especially at the graduate level. The little body of research shows that, but also, especially at the undergraduate level, it moves students through the program more quickly, and that is an issue when you're dealing with non-traditional students. That they don't want to hang around the program for 10 years. They want to be able to finish in 2, 3, or 4 if they can, or 5. It helps them to accelerate through the program. But at the graduate level, one of the things you find is that a lot of the grad students do not necessarily want to be accelerated. They want to kind of take their time and just learn the material at a more leisurely pace because they don't necessarily need the degree for their next career step. So we've gotten a little bit of pushback on trying to move everything to an 8-week format. And then, of course, there's a question of the language courses, too. Latin and Greek courses, I just don't know that you can really accelerate those courses a lot more than they already are before you start to really start harming outcomes and student success. So I'd have to sort of punt on that and tell you that probably what will happen is this: the courses that we redo, the new courses will gradually, when we redo course from scratch, the new courses will be, generally speaking, an 8-week course. We've not developed any new 12-week courses, but we've kind of slowed down the period in which we're retiring them. And so it's quite likely that some of them will hang around for quite some time. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Could I offer an observation in terms of my own experience with, I guess, as a graduate student at an institution that was on a quarter system as opposed to a semester system?
Yeah.
Ohio State University, which is where I received my master's and doctorate, was rather unique in that all courses except for law, all programs except for law and medicine were on the quarter system.
Right.
The quarter system, from my observation, seemed to work well enough for undergraduates. For graduate students, it was a little more problematic.
Yeah.
We all hated it. The faculty hated it.
Right.
And more often than not, extensions would just be given as a matter of course
right.
to people, and it in no way reflected people's ability to finish something on time or anything like that. It's just that with the nature of the research that we were doing, it wouldn't always quite fall into place
right.
in 8 weeks.
Right.
So that might be a consideration to ponder if you are, thinking about this. Undergraduate courses, I just taught one. 8 weeks was sufficient for the material that I covered.
Right. Right. And you could have stretched it out to 14 weeks, but what would be the point? Because 8 weeks works, and that's definitely been our experience. We tend to get the most pushback from students on the 8-week format from graduate students. And sometimes it's just because they're used to the 12-week format because they started when all the courses were 12 weeks and they don't like the change. Whereas some of the new ones, they start out in the new gateway course, which is 8 week, and take a second course, which is 8 week. They don't seem to mind so much. But I do think that the research angle is one problem with the 8-week format. It just takes time to do research, quality research, and students really have to start a paper on an 8-week course if you want to do any kind of research project by the second or third week at latest.
They pretty much have to start.
It took me a good month to do a paper. I mean, I could not bang out a paper in a week or 2 weeks. That was just me, but I try to research things thoroughly, and if you do that, you just need more time.
You pretty much have to start the ground running from the first day.
Yeah. Right. Right. What do other people think about the 8-week, 12-week issue? Faculty seem to go either way, it seems to me, but anyone have any strong opinions? I guess not.
You know, Pete, for the graduate experience, I really like the 12 weeks. It just allows you to just do the depth and really work through some sophisticated things. So it's great to keep that, especially if the population's not really pushing to change it.
Right.
You know, they seem to like it too. It gives you a nice pace to work with them.
Right. Now, I agree. I mean, I think I'm a little more partial to the 12-week myself, especially for the more advanced courses, the higher level courses. I will say, if you're developing new courses, it is a lot easier to develop an 8-week course than a 12-week course. It goes a lot faster. Even if there's as much content in the 8-week course, there's just a lot. There's just a lot less to put together, it seems like, and that's also a big consideration or so as we're trying to offer more courses to students. That, but I think for the undergrad, I think the 8-week is probably going to be here to stay for the most, for definitely for most of the courses. There might be some older 12-week ones that we still have, but yeah. Excellent. So, what else?
This is Lori. I had a couple of students this last summer who were wondering about having everything due on Saturdays.
Yeah.
When I first taught, it was on Sundays, and I went back and read it was a faculty decision. How much flexibility do we have with that?
Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, you can make the due dates whenever you want.
Okay.
The reason we've done that, we had Saturdays, and actually it was sort of Saturdays, but reality for a lot of courses that became Sunday or sometimes even Monday, was just so you could sort of clear, because you're sort of working on a kind of a funny time model where the content comes out week by week, that you typically don't want stuff dragging from one week to the next. Because the assignments historically went with the lessons. But honestly, several faculty here have had good success by having their discussions so that students are actually required to make a post in the first couple of days rather than straggling into the next Saturday. And, I see no reason why an assignment couldn't fall due on a Wednesday, in an 8-week course. I just don't see it. I mean, in some ways, your students will be more used to having it due, on that weekend. So a lot of students you'll find in an online course will do most of their work on the weekends just because that's when they're the freest. So if you tried to make it do at a different time, students might push back a little bit, but, make it do whenever you think works for you in the course, depending on what kind of assignment it is. There's no universal policy that says all due dates have to be on Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think there's only one little caveat about that, and that is the final exam.
The final exam, that's right.
And we are bound to some regulations for federal financial aid to have certain work done by a certain time. And those only affect some terms especially, but the final exam dates are set because they need to be coordinated with our proctor vendor.
Right.
And there's several layers of intervention there.
Right.
So,
well, she's talking about course extensions and final exam extensions. Yeah, when I'm not talking about that, I think she's talking about his assignment.
Right. I mean, yeah, and you're 100% right, Pete. There's no, that
I can tell you there is one little caveat, and it has to do with federal financial aid, and that's 2 weeks of non-participation. So if you don't have a set due date and you allow the student to roll, and enter the assignment anytime they want, it could look like they have 2 weeks of non-participation. So I just caution against, leaving an open-ended assignment due date, but I don't mind if it ends on a Monday and I can check participation for the week and Monday's your due date, that's fine. Because I know by the next Monday, I'll have something reportable.
Right, and That's why we're asking people. We ask you if you're creating a course, or even we're trying to modify courses as we can to get you to have a graded assignment. Hopefully in the first week, maybe, and definitely in the first 10 days. So we try to get, and you're usually the discussions work. I know in the English class, Aaron can attest. We have, we have discussions due on Wednesdays and writing due on Saturdays, whatever, just so that there's, it actually evens out in terms of grading and workload for the students. So each course is different, as we already explained. Yeah.
I think that it helps to have set due dates every week, because that gives them an objective to work to.
And I've had really good success with having midweek due dates, like you said, for discussions. It gets students to actually come back and read and not just load it all on the weekend.
Right.
I agree.
So that's helpful for me. Thank you.
I would strongly suggest that if you haven't done already, experiment with either making a formal due date for a discussion post or asking students to, could you please chime in by Tuesday on, say, a Monday morning post. That way the discussion moves a little bit faster and you can actually cover more topics, and it's just a little bit more enriching. Pete, find the due dates that work for you. Elizabeth?
Yeah, I like a very active discussion. I like to try to encourage that as much as possible. And some students really go for it and want to be up there every day, and I think that's great. And then there are others who just wait till the last day and go bing, 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 answer respond to each thing. Would it be excessive to build in multiple discussion due dates within a single week?
I think you could do it. I think it would be a little hard to administer hard due dates like built into Canvas, just because I don't know if Canvas really accommodates multiple due dates for one assignment. You'd probably have to keep rolling over into a new discussion group like Father Bevel does.
Yeah, okay.
You could do that. I mean, that would be one way to do it. Just have discussion 1 due on Tuesday, discussion 2 due on Thursday, discussion 3 due on Saturday, whatever. You could try that.
The one risk with that, though, is that it becomes kind of results oriented rather than an actual discussion where students will just answer whatever they think they have to answer in order to submit something.
Right.
Rather than having a really thoughtful conversation.
Certainly, I see that. That happens no matter what.
Yes, that's right.
But yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would try it though, Elizabeth, if you want to try something different, for sure.
I'll think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, live session would be nice too. I've had very good success in some courses doing that as well. Not necessarily every week, but a few live sessions. Usually make them optional because not all students will be able to join, but they love to be able to talk to you and talk to other students and stuff, and it builds camaraderie.
Pete, what platform do you use for those live sessions?
I use this platform here in a lot of cases, but I think there's one faculty member who's used Google Hangout or Google Chat before. The interface isn't good. You can use there's a free version of Zoom that you can use. They'll give you 40 minutes. If you want to do it regularly, we have talked about bumping Zoom up to include other faculty members on our account. Right now, I have sort of the master account for the whole university. But if you guys would use it, regularly enough, I'm sure we could have a couple rotating faculty accounts that could be used in exactly the way I'm using this software right now. This is a very, very clean software. It works very well. It doesn't crash when you have a lot of images and stuff like Adobe does. It's very light. It's nimble. I've been quite happy with it.
Anyone can use Zoom for 40 minutes.
Yeah, you can use it for 40 minutes free.
So, and they do that especially, for faculty, nonprofit, and that kind of thing. So if you ever want a conference with a student or whatever, you can have a free Zoom.
What I would suggest you do if you want to try it is just have a short 40-minute period or so. And if you turn out you like it and you enjoy talking with the students and stuff and you think you would use it, talk to me, and I'm sure we could find the money to increase our Zoom account a little bit more. I know the Zoom company will be happy with it.
So Pete, is that 40 minutes per session you get
Yeah.
for free? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you get 40 minutes, and then they log you off. They force
Okay.
you off. And they'll give you a countdown so you know when it's coming.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I would strongly suggest it. I really would. I think students would really like to hear your voice and see your shining face and get a sense of what you're like as a person as well. It's just it's another way of being present in a way that where your personality can come through a little bit more easily than it can in a asynchronous discussion. Excellent. So anything else? Going once, going twice. Good night.
All right.
Thank you all for
Thanks,
joining.
Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
All right.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. We'll see you.
Thanks, Pete.
Bye-bye.
Good evening,
Thank
all.
you, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.